Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hopefully, we got a pretty decent view of the North Valley here in Phoenix. Uh, it's actually more populated than what it looks in here, but hey, we're going to check it out anyway. Also, hopefully, here we're going to get the rig walk around done. We're going to show off the lights that I installed. Now, I haven't hidden all the wires for them. Just for simple fact, I'm not sure if I'm going to add any more to it or not, depending on how bright it is at nighttime. So we're going to kind of go from there. So forgive the wiring, it's just kind of a, hey, here it is, and then I'll actually get into where I build a harness for it and everything else here in the near future. Probably right after the holidays is when I'll get all that stuff taken care of. This was more of an install that ran into a problem that I had to troubleshoot. Got it figured out, everything's good to go there. So now what we're gonna do is get the harness built now that I know what the issue is, and I'll tell you guys what it is. The issue is I used a larger butt connector to attach the two larger gauge wires down to the smaller ones that I bundled up. And I don't think it made a very good connection. If it made a connection at all, I think the wires just kind of sat in that hollow area and didn't actually connect to anything. So anyway, that was the issue. We did tap into the right wire, which is the yellow with the white dash. And so far everything seems to be working really great. They're low voltage, low amperage LEDs, so they really shouldn't create any problems with the CAN bus on it. But anyway, let's dive into the rig walk around. We'll kind of go over what all's in it, all that happy jazz, and we'll go from there. Anyway, all right, guys. So this is a 2016 Wrangler Sport S package, which means it has the U-Connect, power windows, power locks, hard top, the super nice sport model and rim package on it, not the steelies, so it came with aluminums. But we'll go ahead and we'll start off at the front here. So on the front, we got a DV8 FS15 bumper, stubby bumper. I love this bumper. As far as I know, there's only like 2 other people in the city that I know of that have this bumper. Now that I said that, watch, everybody's going to post and there'll be a bunch of people and I'll have to find out a new one. So, and we got a piece of wire right here. Anyway, so on top of that is a XRC 9,500 pound steel cable winch. I looked at the synthetics. Eventually I'll swap this one over to synthetic once the cable's gone. But for right now, I am completely good with the cable that's there. Anyway, I got something else on the way for the winch that I think is desperately needed. And I probably should have bought it a long time ago, but we'll get into that once it gets here. Tires on it. Tires it sits are the General Grabber X3s. The 2 rear ones go on Friday. So far, I love these tires. They are quiet, they ride nice. So far, they seem to wear pretty well. They handle the rocks, the mud, and everything else really good. So, completely happy with that. And underneath the hood, right now, the factory intake is on. That is because last night, for the trip that I got coming up here in January, I took the filter out to clean it out of my AFE power intake system, and the band clamp that's on there decided that it was going to go ahead and burr up and locked up, and there was just no way of putting it back on at the time. However, I did email AFE, sent them pictures. They responded this morning, pretty prompt too on them, and they've already got another one in the mail shipping out to me. Hopefully it makes it here in time, and we'll be set for that trip. Next is the Apollo Technic switch box. This thing right here is about 160 bucks, 180 bucks, somewhere in that range on Amazon. Forget my wiring. I'm still building a whole harness for everything that comes off this. Hands down, absolutely love this thing. It just makes everything simple. It gives everything a relay, gives everything. And if something goes wrong, it's all right there. There's no digging from here to find a wire, to find this, to go through that, or any of that stuff. Everything is right here, or it's in a switch pod that's inside the Jeep. So, hands down, I love it. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford an S pod. It was just a little bit out of my price range. So that's what we went with. Another thing that I did is I swapped out the factory battery because it completely died on me. And I went for a deep cycle 650 cold cranking amp battery. So far, hands down, it has worked really well. Hopefully it lasts for many years and everything will be set. So, all right, on the top of the hood, as some of you have seen, is the graphic that's up there. That was made by A to Z Printworks, Jason Martin. Phenomenal guy if you guys need decals, stickers, hats, shirts, whatever you need, and you're here in the Valley. He is definitely a guy to hit up. I know he does wraps. I don't know if he's still doing them, but I do know that he does full wraps for Jeeps and everything else. Moving on, we got the pillar lights, which are just ox beam. These have started to yellow out a little bit, but for 30 bucks, you really can't complain about it. They've been on there for about 1.5 years, and so far do really well. Next is the Light Fox light bar. I got this from the LED light guy in Scottsdale, Arizona. Reasonably priced. If it gets stolen, it is what it is. I'm not out a $1,200 or $1,400 Rigid or KC lights. I would love to own them. I think they're incredible lights. But for the price tag and the fact that around here light bars pretty much walk off like ex-girlfriends, you know, you got to get something that if it does, hopefully it's not too hard to replace. So that's that. Moving on. Next is the cut fenders. Everything's cut all the way around. No, I cannot cut straight to save my life. So yeah. Anyway, there's that. But they are cut on all the sides, so you know, and they work out really well. Unfortunately, they will be replaced. And moving on. So next is the rear bumper and tire carrier. This is a tough stuff, rear bumper and tire carrier. So far, I'm really happy with it, especially with the price that I paid for this thing. It works out really well. It does have a little rattle from the tire carrier, but when you spend, you know, 250 bucks for it, you really can't complain too much. So like I said, I enjoy it. It works out really well for me, and we're good to go there. Next is the Terraflex antenna mount. I reversed mine so I could bring my antenna down because I do live in an apartment complex, and rolling in with this thing another foot in the air, it just made all kinds of noise and at nighttime, and you know, trying to be nice to my neighbors and take care of that. So other than that, we come into the Rubicon Hard Rock Edition rock slide guards. I bought these used. Actually, they were brand new, but they did come off another vehicle, so that makes them used. I bought these for a hell of a price. I think I spent 180 bucks for both. And I'll tell you what, they have more than paid for themselves on several occasions. I mean, these things are just ate up underneath. The let me show you the other side. The other side here, I mean, it's dented in. But overall, I mean, they have paid for themselves, you know, time and time again. So that's kind of it for the outside. Really not a bunch more on the outside other than stickers, which I'm sure nobody really cares about. If you do, let me know. I'll tell you where I got them, and hopefully you can get yourself some too. So we are going to get into the suspension on it. So let's get into that. All right. So starting off with the suspension, we got a Rubicon Express steering stabilizer with a Terraflex relocation system to bring it up on top. So far, really liking the setup. I did have a Fox shock on there, steering stabilizer on there, and it ripped apart. I mean, literally, I got it at the house. It's absolutely ridiculous what happened to this thing. Let's see. Suspension-wise, we are looking at rock crawler sway bar disconnects. These are Rough Country springs, 3.5-inch lift with Rough Country lower solid control arms on the bottom. On the top, if we can get in there and see them, I don't know if we can or not. Oh, there they are. We have a set of rock crawler upper adjustable control arms. So far, very happy with them. And then for the underneath, we have the adjustable track bar. As far as shocks, up front, I am running the Rubicon Express shocks up here. I've gotten rid of the Rough Country ones. They were just way too loose for me. So that's what I'm running up front. And for any of you guys, oh, that was my finger, don't mind that. There's the part number for that. Also running the steel braided Rubicon Express brake lines up front as well, and on the rear. So far liking those. And on the rear, it will be pretty much the same thing, with the exception of the shocks on the rear are Bilstein 5100s. So that's where we sit with those. I am sitting on 35s all the way around. I really like it and enjoy that. So also underneath the Jeep, we have a Rubicon Express oil skid plate or oil pan skid plates. Sorry, I can't talk today. So that covers up the oil pan. I am working on more skid plates. God knows I need them. And I also need a new cross member because, well, mine looks like a Coke can that got smashed by a dumpster. So unfortunately, those cross members just aren't made very well at all. Also in the back is a Nemesis off-road evap relocation kit. I really am digging that because that allows me to mount the rock light bars that I have, which are 8-inch light bars that I more or less hooked up so that way they would be, you know, more of a work light instead of a rock light. They do shine on the diffs, so whoever the spotter is can see if we're clearing the diffs or if we're hitting them and having a problem. Especially at nighttime. Seeing your diffs is super important. Seeing your wheels is also important as well, but to me, seeing the diffs is far more important than that. So let's move on into the interior and we'll get into that. All right, guys, so in the interior, besides the breakdown bag that I carry, which has tents, food, grill, or tents, food, stove, couple bottles of water, everything else that I keep in there, that's pretty much tools and recovery gear, more tools, electrical tools, more tools, and 2 gallons of gas. If you're going out in the desert, I suggest carrying at least 2 gallons, if not a 5-gallon, because you never know what can happen. You can puncture a tank, you'll have to patch it, and those 2 gallons get you a lot closer to cell phone service so you can call somebody to bring more gas out. Let's see, in here, those are the lights that I just installed. Like I said, forgive the wiring. It will be much prettier once it's all said and done. Everything is going to be rewired here shortly, including the switch box up front. That's all going to be rewired as too. But here's where I started my high lift. This high lift is mounted to a Dominion off-road high lift mount system. I love this thing. It basically bolts in there, then it bolts to here, and then it bolts up there. Other than a little rattle on dirt roads, other than that, this thing is phenomenal. Even with that rattle, it doesn't bother me. It keeps it up and out of the way, still leaves plenty of room. It's not hanging outside, it's not in the elements, it's not in the dust and everything else. Next over here, we have the Daystar Can-Cam. That is all my air up equipment, hoses, gauges, the whole king and boodle, and my air down. Everything is kept in there, extra valves or extra valve cores, all that stuff. The straps that you see here, this is what actually ties down my bikini top. I didn't feel like cutting into there, so that's what I did, and so far I like that a lot better. There's one issue that I have with my Jeep that I've had since day one, and nobody can seem to get it fixed. So, yeah, that's just a pain in the ass. Next is the Poison Spider fire bottle holders. I have 2 of them on the driver's side. This way, if there's a fire or, you know, we come across a campfire, we can get them put out and get that stuff taken care of. Moving on. Next, this is the Smittybilt gear door panel. I love this thing for the rear. Basically, I got some 511 pouches on here that I hung up because the Smittybilt pouches aren't all that great, but overall the 511s are. This thing actually is pretty good. It does hold up here pretty good. You can see though it did rip out when someone broke in and decided they were gonna rip all my crap out. That's what happened. Usually there's water in here, but I keep filtration, basically a small IFAC kit, with a couple other things, emergency blankets, fire starting, anything you need for a quick emergency. You broke it down, it's cold, wet, whatever. This will get you at least through the night. Maybe not super comfortably, but it will get you through the night. And here's where I keep my stove. So this will actually get a stove put back into it before we leave for our trip, just in case. So moving on from there, let's see here. We have the Mastercraft grab handles that are in. One of these did get broken. 4-Wheel Parts took care of it with the warranty that I bought through them, and so far I'm really digging it. So next comes something that I really like having in here, which is, that is where I keep my ARB air compressor. Underneath the driver's seat, mounted out of the way of everything. I can hook a hose to it. The whole kit and boodle, keeps it up where people just can't grab it and run with it and take off on you and all that happy stuff. It also keeps it out of the heat of the engine bay, because in Arizona, well, in Arizona, you really don't want stuff getting heat soaked too much. It doesn't take much to heat soak anything out here whatsoever. So next is the Apollo Technics switch pod. I effing love that thing, pardon my language, but that thing is phenomenal. Ever since I got it, everything's just easy. It's right there. It tells me what my voltage is, the whole kit and caboodle. Obviously, we've already done the review on the CB mic holder. So you guys can check that out. And then there is the Uniden Bearcat Pro. I believe this one is the 505XL or 505SXL. Anyway, I'm not even focused on it, am I? Ha, great. So, anyway, not very expensive. If it gets ruined, not a big deal to get it replaced, and life is good there. So, other than that, that is pretty much it on my rig. I do have a bikini top at the house. You know, I do have a couple other things at the house that kind of just get thrown in when I need to take them. This time of year I run a hardtop just for the weather in the winter. And basically that's about it in a nutshell on mine. Total so far into this, I am about $4 grand into it. If I bought everything for retail prices, I'd be sitting at about 7,000. But like I said, with mine, I try and find things on OfferUp. I try and find them on the Jeep forums. I try and find them, you know, on the Jeep pages on Facebook, people that are selling their stuff that's still in great condition. It's just used. I don't have a problem with used. Used has saved me a lot of money. It's got my Jeep to the point where it's been through Moab. It's been through a bunch of places that, you know, if I was still building it, they wouldn't have been able to make it because I'd still be building it. And it's still under construction. I mean, it is a Jeep, so it's always going to be under construction. But basically, in a nutshell, you know, I can still afford to, you know, take people out or take the girl out or anything else that I want to do and still build my Jeep. Sometimes it does kind of stink because you kind of wait for stuff to pop up and whatnot. And there are some things that I buy new. Obviously, you know, shocks I buy brand new just to make sure nothing's blown out and to make sure I get the warranty on them for how rough I am on shocks and suspension components. But overall, the other stuff, you know, I try and buy used. Unless electronics, then I try and go ahead and see what I can do about new, unless I just get made a smoking offer on something, then I'll pick that up. Oh, yes, one more thing. Also on this Jeep, the headlights. They have the LED bulb replacement, which if you do any night driving on any kind of dusty road or anywhere that's super dark, do yourself a favor. Buy either LED, the full replacement unit for the headlights, or buy the bulb swap. I personally like the bulb swap. I really like it. And the fog lights are both been swapped out to LEDs. The difference that happens on the trail once you swap out to these LEDs is just night and day. I mean, it is hands down, absolutely 100% night and day. You couldn't ask for better. I mean, there are, you know, I'm sure there's people out there who run 12 billion lights, but, you know, just having those, even without the light bars and everything else, made a miraculous difference. Like my confidence level driving at night, especially on the dirt, definitely went up. I could see more, everything was clearer. You didn't have those dim yellow things where you had to put on the high beams just to be able to see out in front of you. They did really well. So, all right, guys, that's kind of the quick and dirty rundown of my Jeep. Maybe one day I'll get into far better and more professional looking videos and presentations, and we'll kind of go from there. But for right now, I mean, this really does, I mean, I do this for the fun of it. And that's pretty much about it. Maybe I'll get something out of it one day. Who knows? But either way, you guys have a great day. If you guys want to see what's in the bags, you know, I can do a video on that. Let me know. We can kind of go through those and tell you guys what's in them and the reason the stuff is in there. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Enjoy your day. Remember, America every day. And I'll leave you guys with a view on the end.